Deku was born to Ryuko. I don't know her last name, but his original canon father is still his dad in this one. But Deku is born to this family and almost different to all other childhoods. He is born into a family where his mother is the main hero, and she is very influential and has a lot of money and power. So Deku grows up as a kind of sheltered kid. He gets limo drives to school, and his mom doesn't get to see him often, but when he does, they enjoy being together, and they have quite similar quirks if you actually think about it. So Deku lives like this until the age of 4 when his quirk awakens. Ryuko takes him to the quirk doctor, and the quirk doctor informs Ryuko that Deku's quirk is similar to hers, as in a 3-stage transformation. Deku has his human form, then his demi-human form, and then his full dragon takeover form. In his dragon form, well, even not in his dragon form, he is naturally 2 times tougher than humans, 2 times stronger than normal humans, and he has more stamina, more durability, more flexibility, more agility, just enhanced features all around, and is naturally strong but produces an extremely hot body heat, so his temperature is a lot higher than normal humans. Not enough to burn you, but just enough to know that something's up. Deku's demi-human form allows him to grow a tail and sprout wings. In this form, he gets dragon-like scales all the way up to his elbow, and his hands grow bigger and claws sprout out. And these are super strong. They're about 2 times stronger than his mother's just in raw power. Raw power alone. And the same thing is with speed. Speed increase, strength increase, insane durability increase. Deku's not only fireproof, he is able to breathe underwater, breathe in space, and is resistant to bullets, flamethrowers, falls, and pretty much everything you can think of. It takes really strong, like All Might, to really do him some good damage, or insane heat. Deku also has the ability to fly and can use his tail to attack people if he so chooses, or hide them inside his body. He also has another power. He can control elements. That's the part that he gets from his father, who can breathe fire. Deku can breathe fire or shoot fire out of his appendages, his feet, his arms, and his mouth. He can breathe or just use the elements of fire, lightning, wind, earth, and water, and can use all of these kind of like an avatar of sorts, if you understand. And that's just the powers he gets in his demi-human form. When he's in his full dragon takeover, he becomes tougher again. He gets slower, but his strength increases greatly, and he also gets the ability of a regeneration factor only in his full takeover form, to where he can regenerate losing limbs and other things if his scales are broken. But in his full takeover form, he is resistant to mind control because his mind is part animal at that point. So taking over his mind will be the equivalent of trying to talk to a dog. But he also has a second power that's not really a power. He can summon a small type of dragon-like creature that can control its size. It can grow bigger than even Deku in his full dragon stage, or small enough to sit on his shoulder. Either extreme. It can also turn into a human-like form and is capable of intelligence. So, that are all Deku's base powers. Deku really doesn't go through much as a child. He becomes best friends with Bakugo because Bakugo respects Deku and knows that in a fight, Deku could probably beat him. So he respects Deku enough to be his friend. Deku really doesn't have much traumatic or experiences throughout his childhood or really anything interesting. The only real part when it gets interesting is when Deku is a teenager and pre-UA. He is now a teenager and is at school, and that's when his teacher walks in and says, I would give you this long, boring, drawn out speech about what you want to be in life, but let's be honest, all of you just want to be heroes so that you can earn money and fight villains. Everyone uses their quirks, and in this display, everyone jumps and everyone is happy until Bakugo slams his hand on the desk and says, all of you should be quiet. We know that none of you are actually going to be heroes. The best you could probably do is secondhand sidekicks to some lame, low-class, bottom-feeder hero. Don't waste your time. And everyone immediately, stops and looks at Bakugo with a sad face. Deku says nothing to this and says, Deku says nothing to this. When the teacher says, Bakugo, you plan on being a hero? You must want to go to UA. I'm sure you could do it. You have some of the best grades in the school and one of the best quirks in the school. And Bakugo says, one of? And he says, yeah. Deku also has probably the best quirk here. And probably we get into UA without even trying just because of his connections and his family. And Bakugo looks at him with a bad look. Deku shrugs it off and says, yeah, I am going to UA, so what? Not much happens after this. School ends and Deku walks back, but a different way than usual, when he runs into the sludge villain. And Deku's caught off guard by the sludge villain. The sludge villain immediately proceeds to this sounds weird, but jump into his mouth when Deku immediately shoots fire out of his mouth, burning the sludge villain to only a drop. And even though the sludge villain is out of his mouth and out of direct fire, the fire won't get put out. And the sludge villain is only a tiny little, puddle instead of being as big as he once was. That's when All Might turns the corner and Deku shoots lightning right past All Might's face, cutting him and stunning him, stunning him because he was shocked at no pun intended, he was shocked that Deku reacted so fast. Deku apologizes saying, sorry, I thought you were another villain. And All Might is intrigued by his strength. He says, you look like someone I know. Maybe I know you from somewhere. And he says, nah, you don't. I've never met you before, but it was nice to meet you, All Might. And before Deku walks off, All Might tells him, wait, wasn't there a villain that just came around this corner? And he says, yeah, he's that puddle right there. And All Might is shocked. He says, what? He defeated the villain easily. No problem. That's amazing. And All Might gathers up the villain and just leaves, being shocked. Deku goes home and tells his mother that he wants to go to UA. And his mother tells him, well, if you want to go to UA, then you have to be strong so that you can be a good hero. And he says, yeah, I want to be a hero like you, or better than you. And she says, oh, so you want to be better than me now? Can you even beat me? And he says, we'll just have to see. So Deku's training over the 10 months before the test to go to UA. He learns how to summon the smaller dragon, which he proceeds to name Drakon as the spirit. He summons Drakon. He learns how to maintain it longer and keep it out longer so that he can control it. And he also tries to learn another form besides his two other ones besides his human form. He knows that he can reach them, he just hasn't accessed them yet. Like a speed form and a strength form, that's the basics of what he wants to learn how to do. Over 5 months, he learns how to fully master using Drakon, just summoning him without, using energy. So he hasn't learned how to use Drakon to attack yet. He just knows that he can summon him without consequence or making him, nauseous or losing stamina. That's so far as he's gotten. On the other 5 months, he trains with Drakon to kind of manage to access a partial transformation, which focuses all of the dragon's abilities to his legs to make him super fast. But he can only do this for about a second. He can move about 300 yards with one step, but he can only do it for about 1 second. He can only maintain it for about as long as it takes for a heartbeat to beat once to the next beat. So not very long. It does put a big strain on his body. But that's what he learns. And he passes all the knowledge tests of UA all on his own because he's actually really smart and had to study quite a bit. Because his mother, Ryuko, is quite the study bug, actually. He gets into the UA through the practical exams just by recommendations because his mother is a world-renowned hero and he didn't have to actually try to get in. This is where he meets Todoroki, and Todoroki is immediately displeased at Deku, saying, oh, another spoiled brat. And Deku proceeds to say, a spoiled brat. I wonder where you came from. You must be a spoiled brat yourself. And then Todoroki proceeds to try to chill the room, and Deku heats up the entire room, overwhelming Todoroki in an instant. Todoroki was shocked and immediately grew wary of Deku and started to think of him as someone who could be a challenge at this school. The exam finishes. Everyone who's in Class 1A is in Class 1A. The only difference is Deku is in Class 1A before anyone else, so he doesn't actually meet with Ida. He just sees Ida messing with Bakugo and wonders, I wonder when Bakugo's gonna get tired of that guy and just explode him. I should stop him before he does it. But before he can do that, more students enter the classroom and he sees Todoroki and him glare at each other. And Bakugo immediately stops fighting with Ida and says, what happened between you two? You look like you're ready to fight. And he says, it's no problem. It's no problem. He's just sorry that you lost. After a few minutes of conversation, everyone eventually gets quiet, and Aizawa pops up and says, that took quite a bit. You're going to have to be faster than that if we're going to run this class efficiently, okay? And he says, the first action this class will take as a class is going outside to assess your quirks. And one student says, what about orientation? And he says, well, this is my class. I can do what I want. If you don't want to be here, you're welcome to leave. Everyone goes silent. And he says, go get dressed into your gym uniforms and meet me outside. And all of the physical tests that Deku goes through, he easily passes just in his human form. He easily passes just in his human form, except for the speed test, which him and Ida equally, they both crossed the finish line at the same time, so it was a draw. For the ball test, Deku is asked, well, what was your ball throw in your human form? And he says, well, my ball throw in my human form was 500 meters. And he says, God, you're strong, aren't you? And he says, yeah, I am. And he says, well, what about with your quirk? And he says, well, which variation? Do you want me to go turn into a full-blown dragon? Or do you want me to go in my demi-human form? He says, let's just see. So he uses the demi-human form, and Deku throws up the ball and spin kicks it and sends it almost breaking into space a little bit under, like 6,000 feet, maybe more into the air. And Deku easily wins, and he says, do I need to demonstrate my full dragon form? And everyone just says, that's good enough, you're strong, we see that. Deku is top of the class on everything, having the highest scores, winning easily, and being the strongest in class, and being established as top dog off the first day. The elimination does happen, so sorry, but what is his name? Mineta is actually eliminated and taken out of class. The person who comes in the person who joins class 1A is actually going to be revealed next episode. So you just have to watch it and see. But with that, I will end this what if. I think it was a cool one, and it's quite interesting to me. If you do like it, well, you know what to do. Leave a like, sub, and so on and so forth.